Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. Jeff is here.
Hi.
Bob!
Hey.
You exist!
Yes. I climbed out of my cave to come back and watch a movie.
Ari Aster brings out the best in all of us.
Yeah. I'll stop by anytime he does something. I don't care, good or bad. I'm going to go watch it.
Always something to talk about.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Any news, Jeff? Did you read anything this week?
Somebody just died. I haven't spent very much time. What's that?
The Cosby Kid.
Oh, yeah. Malcolm Jamal Warner died today.
Yeah, I heard that.
That was the only.
Very sad. Very sad. Drowned, I believe.
54?
Yeah. Very sad, but, it is what it is.
Yeah.
He had a hell of a life.
Yeah.
I heard he was a hell of a bass player.
Really?
He had a band.
Yeah. Vernon Reid, of all people, in Living Color,
Really?
was talking about Malcolm Jamal Warner being this incredible bass player.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
high praise.
Yeah.
And Vernon Reid is actually really super cool. I met him at
Oh, really?
a convention.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that guy.
Oh,
One of the best there is.
Yeah.
I saw him on the Black Sabbath thing.
Yeah.
He came out in a super group, kind of played with a bunch of guys. That was pretty awesome to see him. And I don't know who he sang with or he played with, but it was pretty amazing. I've seen him live too. He's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For me, I've got a theme week going for Real Scope this week. We're doing a theme of movies that were released 20 years ago this week, which will be of interest to you, Bob. I will be watching The Devil's Rejects again.
There's nothing wrong with that movie.
This week in 2005, that movie came out.
Yeah, one of my favorites for whatever reason. When you make your list and you always feel stupid when you just pick a movie for whatever reason, just unreasonably higher than movies that should be higher. But I don't know. I was shocked at it when I saw it. I didn't really like House of a Thousand Corpses that much. Went and saw this, and it wasn't because I'm a music guy and a Rob Zombie fan. It was just I don't know. I just thought I liked the soundtrack really more than anything and the way he used the songs in the movie. I understand his wife was kind of annoying it. Other than that, though, I had no issue with the movie.
general.
It's interesting though, the movie, you never know what movie's going to feel special to you. Mel Gibson is a horrible human being, but I can't give up on Signs. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I love Signs. I just that movie, seeing it the way I did in a full theater with a group of people just hanging on every moment of it, it was just one of the best experiences ever.
But that's because you're such an M. Night Shyamalan apologist.
This is fair.
Yeah, Sean loves M. Night Shyamalan. Everything he's ever done.
Old? Yeah. Big fan.
Especially The Happening.
Especially The Happening. Well, I love hot dogs, It's a movie that you don't get many movies that play into my love of hot dogs.
This is true.
The Happening is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I brought that on you guys' recommendation before I was a co-host. And
Did we recommend that, or did we just say?
Oh, you recommended watching it.
Yeah.
And it was $5 at Best Buy. Plus, I got a discount because I worked there at the time. And
It's an experience.
It is rare that when a director is making one movie, the star of the movie is making another movie. That doesn't happen a lot. There's usually one character actor in a different movie, so that happens.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg and M. Night were on two totally different pages.
No idea what either one was doing.
And Wahlberg was on the right page, I think. Then Shyamalan acted like he made a B movie after the fact. I'm like, no, you didn't.
No, I didn't. You don't direct people to act like that.
No.
ma'am. He just keeps repeating, ma'am. And I'm like, listen up, Marky Mark.
I always, for some reason, I'll get in my head that scene where Mark Wahlberg just goes, "No, really, we're normal. Oh, Blackwater." Why would you think that's going to demonstrate normal?
The perfect example, though, of a director or an actor getting totally screwed by the director.
He totally did.
Yeah.
But also, it did help me, though, develop my theory that some actors aren't really great actors. They can be directed to be great. And Mark Wahlberg has been directed to be great by Scorsese. And then we worked with Shyamalan. It's a different story. You got to direct these guys in a very specific way to get what you want out of them.
You asked for news, and I just completely forgot about the fact that in 2 weeks from now, well, less than 2 weeks at this point, the Quad City Toy Show is coming up. And if you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan or a Revenge of the Nerds fan, you should definitely come and say hi because Paige Turco will be there. From Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. I'm actually going to Chicago to pick her up.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to have to detail my car right before I guess.
Could you ask her what the Secret of the Use actually was? Because I still don't know.
Who is she in that? Sorry.
April O'Neil.
Oh, she plays April.
Yeah, in the second and the third one. She's on, like the 100 TV show that came out recently. Been in a bunch of other stuff. I knew her from All My Children. Sorry. But yeah, like Robert Carradine will be here, and a bunch of the cast of that. Don Gibb will finally be here. He was supposed to be here last year, but was sick. So yeah, most of the cast is going to be here. So
awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So all, when you're talking about movies that for some reason sit with you, Revenge of the Nerds, even though it's objectively a pretty terrible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that as a kid and I was like, oh my God, they're so cool. And now I watched it recently because I'm like, oh, maybe I should do a piece and have them sign it. I'm like, nope, I think I'm good.
No, it's borderline unwatchable as an adult.
Largely due to the content. I mean, it doesn't show up. And I mean, they're basically sexually assaulted.
Basically.
I mean, not basically, they are.
They really are, actually. Yeah, I'm trying to soft pedal it, but yeah.
I mean, pretty much any 80s comedy at this point, it's a lot of sexual assault. We actually were talking about this at work today because my friend Scott, who runs the show, was there, and he was talking about, we're going to do a horror con. We're going to start it in conjunction with the toy show in December. And we were talking about some of the people that I know, to look into getting and whatever. And then my coworker heard me talking about it, and we got into the discussion about, I know what you did last summer, and he started talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar, and he's like, Cruel Intentions is my favorite movie. And I'm like, yeah, the movie that literally has one of my favorite lines because it was so shocking and funny, but you can't even say it now because it's so offensive. And he's like, which one? I'm like, I'm not going to say it. You just got to watch it and figure me out. And he texted me about an hour ago. I was like, oh my God, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah. All these movies that everybody's like, oh, you couldn't make Blazing Saddles. You could. People just wouldn't get it.
Right.
As much, they wouldn't get the satire. But
right.
You can say anything truly offensive that you want to. You just have to be willing to accept the consequences of your actions, which has never been a thing before.
Yeah, like being president.
Exactly.
Because, getting away with anything.
I can run around screaming the N-word all I want, but I have to deal with the consequences of having done it.
Yes, that's what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Just say you're playing a character.
Acting! Yeah, satire is definitely still a thing, as we're going to talk about in a minute, but some people can do it and some people just can't get away with it, depending on what they're doing.
You just have to know what your intention is. And if you don't know what your intention is, if you're going into it, especially with a bad intention, I think Dave Chappelle proves that repeatedly. I think he goes into all of his trans stuff with a bad intention.
Yeah.
And I think that just reflects in the way that's not funny.
Well, that's not, he's also basically doing an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has no act on those. It was 8 in 2 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was beyond the offensive stuff, which again, he could get away with it if he worked in a special. And I guess he did get away with it, but the act itself just wasn't that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Chappelle show is top tier, but his stand up in the last 5 years is just, it's
lazy.
Yeah, it's lazy. And he just wants to have an audience and have people adore him because he misses that high, and he hates any pushback that he's getting.
And then he just goes up on stage and talks about the pushback.
Yeah.
And
so
he's way better than that, and it's just a shame that he's kind of hasn't put out anything solid since Killing the Soft really.
Yeah. But speaking of satire that may or may not land,
All right,
Sean?
I guess it's time to talk about Eddington.
Let's please.
We're talking about Eddington, of course, from writer-director Ari Aster, and starring Joaquin Phoenix as Sheriff Joe Cross and Pedro Pascal as the mayor of the town of Eddington, Ted Garcia. They appear initially like that's going to be what we're watching here is this dynamic between, this liberal masked up double vaxxed guy versus this anti-masker. And it's not necessarily what's going on here, because Ari Aster is turning his eye towards parodying everything that happened in 2020. He's basically Twitter now. That's basically but I think there's a little bit more to it since he's such a great director. Like in terms of just the way the movie is shot, his eye and his ability to craft a scene is still fully in place.
It's one of the more beautiful movies that I've seen this year, visually. Content-wise, I just did not connect at all.
Yeah, I do think it's a movie, like with everything else he does, that every viewing will have more to it. I also think seems to be the most conventional thing he did, even though I don't really think it is. When I read your review, you kind of compared it to him wanting to make Doctor Strangelove. I think he was trying to do more of a Mulholland Drive kind of thing, because like halfway through, as soon as that plane, when the Antifa plane, or whatever, even in your review, you mentioned a fever dream.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it was. It wasn't like a fever dream. It was a fever dream. And what's real, what's not, doesn't really matter. There's not a lot of, similar to really everything he's done, none of it's that complicated. But sometimes it just is so beautiful and you follow it and you're just like, what the fuck am I watching? And it, like, especially in something like Midsummer, that it just kind of adds to the excitement to it. This one it's not as shocking.
Yeah, definitely.
And because it's such a new topic and everything's still fresh, and then everything Trump does almost makes you want to go back to COVID sometimes. That some of it's not as powerful probably as you want it to be. It's also, but at surface level, it's a very simple, almost spoon-fed what he's trying to do. But I don't think it's as weak as that. Like, I think a lesser director would have definitely been even worse. But
I think he probably holed up during the pandemic and watched a lot of Coen Brothers movies, because that's what I got after thinking about it. Was he was trying to do a Coen Brothers movie
minus the whimsy.
Yeah, minus the more interesting layered characters, because everybody in this movie was just a very flat stereotype caricature of, the sheriff who doesn't want to mask up or follow any COVID protocols versus the liberal mayor who, follows everything. And
he doesn't follow everything, though. I mean, he's the mask of corruption. I mean, he's like, nobody's a good person in this movie.
Well, the one thing I was watching, like, I wonder if Sean's going to like this, because I similar to the Devil's Rejects and other movies, of common criticism of movies like this, there's nobody liking it. And Sean usually doesn't like those movies.
Tend to, yeah.
And I also, there's nothing fun about this movie.
No.
But I also tend to, I tend to like those movies more than most people do. I don't think they were cookie cutter characters. I do think even though I dislike everybody, but I also can understand why they believe I think he did a good job of making you believe or feel, I don't know what the word is, understand why they believe the way they do and understand where their head goes. And then even following as they start to follow the power, follow their own personal gain and why they do it. I don't feel like you're sitting there rolling your eyes. I feel like you're understanding why the character is doing it. You may disagree with it, but you can at least relate to why they made that move.
I think the main frustration comes from there's just too much. There's just too many things, with George Floyd, BLM, Kyle Rittenhouse, like all those things coming into this at one, and then having to, switch around and go back to them. And like the Kyle Rittenhouse kid, like he goes from being the inventor of Black Lives Matter Eddington to being Kyle Rittenhouse in a scene that I think is on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Yeah, but if you look at half the people that voted for Bernie Sanders or wanted Bernie Sanders when voted for Trump this time around. Mm-hmm. So it's realistic. Weird, yeah. And I think that's kind of what he's going, and I'm simplifying that, mm-hmm. but I think that's part of, how quickly we can, like, there's no more Republican, Democrat, there's top and bottom. I heard someone say that the other day. And I'm like, that makes way more sense. And this isn't even that movie. But I don't know. I was fascinated by it. It's my least favorite Ari Aster movie, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think it's, you either like what it is or you don't, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I did not. I rewatched Beau is Afraid about 6 or 7 months ago, and at that point, it was my least favorite, just because it's just the frenetic pace of, and it's just like all over. And Hereditary and Midsommar are so cohesive, and even though you have to think about more with those movies than you do like your normal horror movies, this is just, I thought, and I said this to Sean because we actually saw it at the same theater at the same time. I said it didn't have a point of view for the first full hour, and then it had a point of view with an unreliable narrator point of view, and then suddenly your antagonist to this character is just gone. I had a problem with like the dropping of a pivotal character, the girlfriend of the sheriff's deputy, whose bag is still sitting at Pedro Pascal's house. So you assume that she's in the bedroom with the kid, and they're like, because they were smoking pot and messing around or whatever. And her purse is there. She's not there. And you don't ever find out if she was there, if she,
Hey, you do. They go back to her and interview her.
Well, but I'm saying like in that scene, is she there? Where is she? Why is her purse there? All that. It just really, there should have been a scene where she saw everything that happened and then was able to say later, that's.
I mean, their first being there was convenient for the story, but I mean, I think they were saying she wasn't there. She had been there earlier, forgot her purse, is kind of the way I thought they explained it.
I thought the whole time when, she's in the bedroom with the kid, and that's why he jumped up and, came out, and that's when, all hell broke loose and whatever. But I didn't really connect with anybody, mostly because the guy's like Joaquin Phoenix's character.
You're not supposed to connect with anybody.
No, I can't stand guys like that. I can't stand, people like his mother-in-law, and they just, so many unlikable characters. There was nobody to root for. And I feel like if I'm going to enjoy a movie, I got to have somebody to root for. Even if it's the bad guy, even if it's Jason in the Friday the 13th movies, and they're shitty teenagers or whatever, at least I'm rooting for Jason.
Yeah.
And there was just nobody that I was rooting for except, like, to die, I guess, Yeah.
One thing that Aster does, and he's done it in every movie, and that is creating so much space for you to fill in the gaps of how you feel about what you're seeing. And I don't know if that approach necessarily rewards this type of thing that is so much more rooted in an experience that we all had. Not that because again, it's a heightened reality. He's taking everything that was, the extreme of everything and putting it in here, but he's also dealing with something that we can all relate to, whereas you cannot relate to satanic cults or Midsommar, whatever Beau is Afraid is doing.
You can relate to Beau is Afraid.
But in terms of like a shared event, though, COVID is a shared event, so it's a little bit different for him to give us something that you can all, he's trying, it almost comes off like he's trying to please everyone by touching on everything that everyone remembered. And I think he's just trying to do just a little bit too much.
Yeah, I would argue I don't think he's trying to please anybody. But I do think by picking something that we've all experienced, he's creating I mean, all of his movies are polarizing, but this one is definitely like going to be the most polarizing of all of them. But one thing I like really am fascinated by, just people in general, is just how our heads can so quickly go. Just regular people all of a sudden smart. Well, you would think smart people also like, I like Trump, or I'm this, or I forget Trump. Just, I don't want to wear a mask, or I don't want to do this, or just the stupidest things. And then have them all, next thing you know, they're in QAnon, and you're like, these are, at some point, this is a normal person.
Yeah.
And
that is such
it freaks me out about myself.
Right.
And so I do think, so when I'm approaching this movie and watching it, that's how I'm watching these characters. And again, no one really knows what his true intent is. We all have our ideas. But for me, that was I found it more fascinating. And just, why does he go out there and say what he says about his wife and the mayor, and that but you understand. I don't see you understand, but you can relate to why he did it, but you're like, don't do that. But you know how he got there, and all that stuff was just fascinating to me. Again, and I do think of this, anything we've learned from Ari Aster is we shouldn't try to figure out his movies. And this one is it's just more of, you just kind of got to experience it. And this one is, again, going to be the most polarizing because of, we've all experienced it. It seems somewhat conventional, even though I don't really know that it is. I mean, even like Beau is Afraid is such a simplistic movie buried in just complication. And I think we called it a Tool song. It sounds really,
yes.
It sounds really complicated. I mean, you listen to the lyrics, you're like, this is the most basic thing in the world. And in a lot of ways, I think all of his movies are that, but you keep coming back because there's something unrelated necessarily to the story that you pick up in the movie. And I don't think this is any different. I just feel like it's, I don't know.
I think you do figure it out for yourself. I think that's what he wants. Is Ari Aster doesn't want to really own anything, which is a very Gen X sort of way of approaching films. Which again, I think Gen X is the actual theme of Beau's Afraid for me. Is because that's kind of, I think that encapsulates the anxiety that Gen X feels about, when am I the grown up, and when do I have to stop listening to my mom, and when am I in charge? I think there's a lot of that going underneath the surface of that movie. I think I keep wondering if Eddington will make sense to me at some point, like if it'll come together at some point. I feel like I did find something in it that made sense about the whole Western thing, about print the legend, the line from Liberty Valance. I think what he's doing, he's taken every single extreme and put it in here. The character of Sarah I found very interesting because we first see her in an Instagram video where she's dancing to a James Baldwin speech, which is a very shallow, white privileged kid thing to do. And the contempt that he seems to have for teenage activism really rubbed me the wrong way. I did not care I understand he's going for the extreme, but it felt like he had a great deal of contempt for them, even though I think their intentions are far purer than the people who are denying COVID, or what Pedro Pascal was up to in terms of his corruption. Those are definitely things that need to be put out there in the world and satirized and pointed at for judgment. And there are things to judge about these white kids who tried to co-opt Black Lives Matter for themselves and make it about them. I get that. But I thought it was just a little too jaundiced in that direction.
I feel like he wanted you to understand Joaquin Phoenix's character and his motivations toward the people of the town. And he wanted you to learn and understand about that kind of person. But he was just like brushing off and making fun of the teenage kids who didn't quite know where to put their energies. So they put it in all these different, holes. And that happened in 2020, especially. I mean, I saw people go from, Black Lives Matter to George Floyd specifically to, masks and COVID. And they didn't know quite where to land. And he doesn't want you to understand that. He just wants you to laugh at them or roll your eyes at them. And that's why I asked Sean, I was like, is Ari Aster MAGA all of a sudden? Or, because he just really, the most contempt he had for the people like on the left as far as satire, and I'm using quotes, satire of those particular characters.
I also think there's, because we are on the left, that we're going to be affected more by him satirizing than that. I do feel like, there's one, I think he said something very important, was Joaquin Phoenix is the main character that he's following. That's the point of view we really get the most. Going in, I thought it was going to be him versus Pedro Pascal's character, and it really wasn't.
Yeah.
You see Pedro Pascal, other than one scene, pretty much in the trailer this entire movie.
Yeah.
Whatever's in the other than some way about 3/4 of the way through.
I really would have liked to see their adversarial relationship go through the whole thing instead of just stopping in the middle and then we have a whole different movie.
Right, but that's just not liking what it is. I do think, though, that he was fairly fair because they keep calling them rioters and looters. You never see them do that.
Yeah.
But you see that character freaking out over that. And so I don't know. I thought it was fairly fair. Again, you're also speaking to just a few characters. It's not the whole movement. And, the main character you're following, the Kyle Rittenhouse character, all he's trying to do is chase a girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why so I don't know if he's truly satirizing the whole movement, but that did happen. There were elements of kids who were doing this to impress their friends and for social status. And you definitely saw celebrities doing that during this time too. Yeah. So I think everything was fair, and I don't think it was the hardest thing. I thought he was pretty fair across the board, but it was also more of following why they did what they did, and just kind of understanding how the human mind can work. And
he's also like representing extremes, and one could argue that he's just taking the perspective that Joaquin Phoenix's character has of those people. That's reasonable, but it still felt off to me. I didn't jive with that particularly. The other flaw I think in this movie is, what is Austin Butler or Emma Stone even doing? Like, I know he wants to get into QAnon. He wants to do a QAnon thing. And that's what the Austin Butler character kind of represents, is this huckster who's traveling the country with these people who actually may have suffered some kind of abuse and, exploiting their abuse for his gain. There's no real specificity, I guess. Like, I compared him to Alex Jones and Russell Brand and the QAnon shaman, and they're all kind of there in terms of the way they want to be gurus and newsmen and whatnot. But I just didn't feel as well integrated into the story as like the Antifa thing. Antifa flying in on a private jet is funny. That's a great, like, taking it to the most right-wing extreme idea of what an Antifa is. That was great. But like there was a lack of specificity in what he was trying to do with the Austin Butler character.
I could have actually seen a whole movie about his character and the seduction of Emma Stone, rather than just being a glorified cameo. And I'm like, did he just get him because he's the hot young thing that that everybody wants right now, or because I thought he was wasted in his he's got like 2 real scenes, and then he's just kind of a picture on the internet. And I thought that after a while, I was like, that's kind of a more interesting story to me. A lot of his side stories that happen in this movie seem like they could be better fleshed out movies. And Austin Butler seducing Emma Stone and rising, into like the QAnon conspiracy stuff. I would have kind of rather watch that than this kind of mess that we had of a bunch of different things all thrown and see what sticks. So,
yeah, I still don't feel like it was a mess. I do feel like you kind of created a world out of something we all dealt with. I don't know. You needed her to get away from him, and he was the perfect character to come through. And I mean, obviously she was abused by her father. Mm-hmm. No one knows that right away, and she's been told it was someone else, and the husband believes it was someone else, and the timing of him misspeaking and saying it was whoever it was, and him coming in, to me, it all makes sense with why she finally kind of snapped out of her daze to be where she was. And it's back to where I think multiple viewings will kind of, I do think you'll start to see more, and I don't know if appreciate more is the right word, but I do think it all goes together. Well, I didn't really feel like he was wasted. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was a flaw. I guess I get why you didn't like it, but to me, it's back to it just didn't like what it is versus there was something wrong with it.
I mean, maybe it's just the fact that it's, people are still getting COVID today, and we're still not technically out of it. Everybody acts like we are, but maybe it's just too soon, because that like 9/11 movies, couldn't watch those for about 10 years, couldn't make those for about 10 years. And then, okay, everybody's kind of,
I thought for sure the whole time we were going to be watching this really complicated crime thing, and then she was just going to die of COVID before it got it.
Yeah.
It was just where I thought it was like, that would have been very Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
They obviously don't go there, but I don't know. I just find the whole thing fascinating more than anything. I don't necessarily, I get everything you're saying. I don't disagree with any of it. I was more fascinated by just the things the characters did and how they got to where they got to, and trying to understand it and buying into all of it, and being frustrated with things they do. And then when the Antifa plane, I mean, they never really call it Antifa. That's right. For us. But there's no person behind it. It's an imaginary plane. There's an imaginary person. You never see any of it, which is why I think it's literally a fever dream. And just Joaquin goes off the deep end from there. And from then on out, nothing is kind of like the second half of Mulholland Drive, where it's just basically a wet dream. But this is some sort of anxiety-ridden daydream that causes someone to join QAnon or whatever else.
I do feel like this movie could be, unlocked for me in a couple more viewings. Like, I think there's something there. Especially the shootout is just so incredible. What an amazing piece of filmmaking. It's honestly, as much as there are things about this movie I don't like, I can't deny that that's just one of the best scenes in any movie this year.
Yes,
that's the only time I really got Western from it. Was I was thinking of it as a gunfight at the OK Corral kind of thing. Everybody's shooting from all over the place, and
without a Wyatt Earp, it feels kind of hollow.
Yeah. I just didn't feel like I realize it's because I'm a liberal and all I do is think about my feelings, but I'm just joking, people. I have no feelings. This just didn't make me feel the way I felt at any of his other movies. Hereditary, I was horrified. I was gutted in Midsommar. Beau is Afraid, I felt like great anxiety because he did, and why does Ari Aster have to show Joaquin Payne every movie that he's in? Is the next one just going to be like a talking penis?
I almost had that in the last one.
There's spoilers because we have to talk about this ending, and I just that is another problem I have. I don't know what the ending is trying to say. I don't really get. I know maybe he's not saying anything, but it's not. He intends it to be shocking. I didn't feel the kind of shock I felt like during the sex scene in Beau is Afraid, which is just one of the most amazing moments I've ever had watching a movie. When that Mariah Carey song comes on and they start having sex, and then suddenly her face, and it's like,
I'll throw into the fact that Josh and his son are sitting that stuff. That took it to another level.
It did. But I don't know what this was. Suddenly the mom is this very coherent mastermind who's taken up with the corrupt politician machine and gotten him elected as mayor, even though he's he's a vegetable essentially after he gets stabbed in the head and shot multiple times and had COVID.
He should have died, right? This should have like been his like last moments.
Well, a lot of them should have died.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think it's real. I think it was kind of like it was all very much of that's how does Marjorie Taylor Greene exist? And
Well,
you know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's not a human
Dog
being.
the bounty hunter,
But it's not a human being anymore. At
Right.
some point, the way they extrapolate events into this craziness, to me, that was kind of what it was. It wasn't from that. As soon as you saw that plane from then on out, none of it was real. It was just kind of him getting into these, whether it's her, whether it's any crazy politician that you're just like, that's not a human being anymore.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think he was saying there more than literally this happened, because everybody, like, all should have died.
See, that makes more sense to me. Like, you saying that makes it make more sense. Like, oh, he's evolving from a human being into this monster who, thinks everybody has to be murdered if.
Right. Because I disagree with him, but he's definitely a human. Early on, you're just like, I get why he feels the way he's flawed. It's a mistake that he feels. I disagree with him. But
well, and I feel like in the early part of the movie, I feel like him with a lot of the people that I know who are MAGA or QAnon or, COVID deniers. They're so afraid of everything. Like, everything around them is a threat. And that's what, he went off on the whole gun speech. People like that who just cling to their guns and, not gun owners, but people who cling to them are so afraid. They see a boogeyman around every corner. And, whether it's a trans person or a black person or a gay person, they see that as a threat and they're so afraid of everything that it turns them into these monsters. And maybe that's what he's saying. Because that to me is the only way it makes sense that I can understand it, is that he's turning into a monster, and at the end he is literally
a
monster.
Right, and that's kind of how I feel. And look, I know we all do, but it's like, this guy can do no wrong, and there's part of me that's gonna make sure he can do no wrong. But it just makes sense to me that that's the direct, and that's, I guess, how I felt while I was watching it. And I don't know. And I do think that it's fair to critique some of the way the liberals have gone about everything, because it's definitely turned off people. And that's, again, why people who wanted Bernie Sanders went and voted for Trump. That makes no sense in this world. But that happened a lot.
If you believe that they actually voted the way they voted.
I mean, well, you just Joe Rogan alone and his whole audience.
Yeah, that makes me actually feel like, okay, it makes a little more sense that it's just the evolution into a monster, because you see people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Donald Trump, who's always kind of been a monster, but he's like now he's Godzilla.
Well, even if you want to take the other direction, like a Nancy Pelosi, like, these aren't. It's a certain point you're just like, it's, I don't know. To me, that's. And again, I've only seen it the one time, but I feel like one thing I liked what you said, which you kind of said it did make you feel like it did the other movies, but then you went and said, I felt 3 different ways at Hereditary, Midsummer, and Beau Was Afraid. Yeah. I do think it makes you feel, whether you like the way it makes you feel or not. I don't know. I just think there's depth to everything he does, but there's also not. I don't know. He's such a weird director, and I think a true artist who really knows. Like, I feel like he has total control over what he's doing, and he's definitely fighting with you one way or another. And I don't know. Maybe this could be one of those things where he's trying to get people to hate this movie, and then they watch it a few more times and they end up liking it, and he did it on purpose. Like, that's the type of thing he would do. At least I don't really know shit about Ari. I've never seen an interview with him or anything. Just, I don't know. I knew very little about this going into it. Only reason I watched the trailers because my wife just wouldn't go unless she knew what the movie was about. So,
did she know what the movie was about by the end of it?
Oh no, she hated it.
I felt like the end, because I started to, at a certain point, when I went the other direction on the Antifa plane. I took it literally. Like, he's presenting every single extreme all at once. And so when the Antifa thing, I thought the shootout was fully happening. And then it gets to that. I should have, if he died like at the hospital of COVID, it would have made more sense to me. It continues on, and it felt like he's just trying to do an Ari Asterism now, like punishing. Like, we're going to put this guy through the worst possible thing where he becomes the prop of this woman that he hates, and she's like sex, like having sex right next to him in the bed. Like, I think this, like, it felt like a going for the kind of a shock there, and it didn't quite that. Extended ending didn't quite land with me.
Do you remember we watched 9 to 5 a couple of months ago? And what they did is they end the movie on a freeze frame, and then they show you, like, they say, Judy Bernley married the Xerox salesman. They just tell you what happened afterwards. That's what that felt like to me. Was like, okay, well, you think he died? Well, no, he actually lived, and this is what happened. And then this is what happened to the kid, who he just grifted off of and then that's what it felt like to me. But it also felt like this whole movie has been super long to get to the point of the shootout and his death. And we got to tack on an ending that makes more sense. I would have been perfectly fine if he had gotten the knife in his head and he had died and that was the end of it, because that's the denouement that everybody kind of expects. Great. I would have been like, oh yeah, okay, he turned into a monster.
That's why I don't think it was literal. It's because not only did he not die, 2 other characters didn't die that should have died.
Yeah.
Right. And, or at least one other character didn't die. I can't remember if the racist cop died or not.
Yeah, he got blown up. Yeah.
Well, the other guy got blown up. He didn't die. But regardless, 2 of them should have died. All of them should have died, and 2 didn't. But also, in both afraid, there's shit in there that he just thought was funny, so he put it in the movie.
Yeah.
I think he just thought that was funny and put it on at the end. And that's the kind of I said I've never heard an interview. I've read an interview where he said everything he's made is a comedy, including Hereditary. Mm-hmm. So I can see. I don't know.
There's a great. I did watch an interview with him on the A24 podcast. It was him talking to Bill Hader, and he gave nothing about this movie other than it's a Western, modern Western. That's pretty much where he went in terms of insight. But he was talking about Hereditary a little bit, and Bill Hader related this thing of there's this moment in Hereditary that is one of the most perfect moments I've ever seen in a movie, and they were talking about it. Where at the end you've got. What's her name? The star, Toni Collette. She's dead. She sawed her own head off. They've put her head back on, and during the ceremony, the head falls off, and you hear this ka-thunk. And it is like, it could not be a more perfect moment, because like you do laugh. It is funny because that sound effect is funny at the same time. You're so shocked and you're so stunned. Like, that's the first moment you could take a breath at the end of Hereditary for just a second.
Yeah.
Well, Midsommar, somewhere had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Like when that couple jumps off that's so shocking, but you can't, you uncomfortably laugh.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole ending, you're just like, what am I watching? And you're part of you, like, you don't know whether to laugh or be like, what the fuck? Which is why the drunk feeling that you experienced was totally on par or on point. I don't know. I'm going to do everything I can to find a way to like this movie. But not in a way like it's a Stallone movie or something like that. Or even like, I always say I've had to, because of Devil's Rejects, hold on to the Rob Zombie mail, even though it's the one I really like. But pretend to, to really hold on to their movies. But to me, this is still different. I still think he's far superior than almost anybody else out there, with a handful of exceptions.
I think this is better than most movies today. I mean, this, out there right now, at the very least. But I still find the flaws to be, to hold it back. And I do find it messy. But I also do think, like, when I got the whole print the legend thing, and I started thinking about the extremes that he's presenting, that made the movie feel a little bit more cohesive to me. But the ending is still kind of weird to me, and I still think you could cut the entire Austin Butler Emma Stone thing and it wouldn't matter at all.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a whole third act if they're not there. Because I don't think he does what he does to the mayor if she doesn't leave.
Maybe. I think the mayor slapping him had just as much to do with it.
Yeah. I thought he was humiliated again.
Well, that what made him go and say what he said. But I think her leaving because of that sent him off the deep end. I do think I think the slap brought him to his live stream, but her leaving brought him to the next level.
I think they would have gotten to that point if they had taken like part of the third act and it had just been them back and forth. I think it would have ended the way the third act began, or the second with the deaths and everything. And I think that if you just made Emma Stone, his wife and not really, and it had more of a supporting role where she didn't go off and kind of push him to do something, I think he still would have gotten there. I think you wouldn't have gotten that big shootout as long as it was protracted. You wouldn't have gotten the explosion, all that stuff wouldn't have needed to be there if it had just been like, him going back and forth with her and then Pedro Pascal talking to her and then it ends up the way it ends up.
There's just to kind of dream about what another movie that this could have been, and not at the expense of this movie, but just kind of a thought process I had about what Pedro Pascal and what we could have done with that, is that there's almost a dynamic he sets up where, as you might think Joaquin Phoenix is wrong, and I do think he's wrong for his opinions on COVID and whatnot, there's an almost innocence to the way he's being filled up by social media, by his mom, by his wife. All of his circumstances have kind of filled him up to be where he is. Whereas Pedro Pascal is this much more experienced, cynical human being who's this, he's part of a political machine. He's ambitious. He's corrupt. He's kind of a Gavin Newsom, absolutely. But like, there's this innocence versus, but one of them is doing this thing that's kind of right and one's doing this thing that's kind of wrong for the other reason. Like, there's a great potential dynamic there that I think ends too soon with the shooting.
Yeah. I didn't have a good time. It did not make me feel like I was having not necessarily fun, but intellectual fun, because it was so all over the place. I was not able to like land on anything.
I think what it is, Midsommar, Beau is Afraid, and Hereditary are so hypnotic, and you're in those the entire time. And this one feels like fits and starts. Like it'll start to become kind of hypnotic and drawing you in, but then it's got to go over here and get the QAnon thing, and then we got to go over here and get the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, and then we got to come back to the COVID thing.
All three of those movies, though, they have a point of view from the beginning that leads you to where it is in the end. In Hereditary, the point of view changes in the third act, but it still has that through line. Same with Midsommar. It breaks in the third act where, suddenly we are the point of view, not Danny. Beau is Afraid. The point of view is Joaquin Phoenix. And yes, his mind is fractured and you get different like realities in that point of view, but it's still his point of view all the way through the movie. This one doesn't have a point of view until Pedro Pascal gets shot. And then it's all Joaquin Phoenix, and you see everything from his point of view, as opposed to I'm seeing a little from this one, I'm seeing a little from this one, I'm seeing a little from this one. So Sean and I talked about it right outside of the theater, and I just said that I did not like the fact it didn't have a point of view until halfway through. And then all of a sudden it was this point of view of somebody who is basically a simpleton who has kind of risen through the ranks and doesn't believe things because he doesn't see them with his eyes. He doesn't believe in COVID because it's not in Eddington yet.
Well, yeah, but I do think it follows from the get-go. It's Joaquin Phoenix's point of view. But, everybody believes what they believe because of the experiences they had. That's why a lot of the people tend to be more simpletons, and they've never left their small town. They don't like to go do things. They have their one black friend, so they're not racist, even though, it's, I don't know. That's so, I don't know. I do think it all is a point of view, because even for his point of view, because even when it looks like it's getting away from him and going to the Kyle Rittenhouse thing or this or that, he's still kind of there through social media or something else. It's feeding his point of view. And again, I do think if you take another look at it without the ending being literal, I do think it turns into a different movie. And maybe that's his fault for not making it obvious and making us guess. But I think Beau is Afraid also did that too, because you don't know that definitely, it just gets more and more chaotic, and it's an anxiety-ridden, I don't know if fever dream is a word there, but it's definitely just...
I did a rewatch of Beau is Afraid for a new review that I wrote very recently, and it totally came to me where that is. It's like the New York sequence is young adulthood, where you think eventually I'm going to be an adult and in charge, but I'm terrified of everything around me right now. Then the middle section is the adult life that he was supposed to have, that society has promised you growing up, like you're going to become a grandfather, you're going to become a father and a grandfather and be married, and society is going to reward you with all of these things for being a grown-up. And he goes through that entire, fantasy sequence of what life should be. And then he comes out of it back to the life that is. It's his mom tricking him to come see him, and like just still running his life from seemingly beyond the grave.
Right.
Just kind of the way that like the boomers are still telling.
Even in that, the life that is through the eyes of an anxious person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually what's happening. It's what they sees happening.
Right.
But really it's something way less than that, which I thought was completely fascinating. And I don't know, I'm excited to watch this again. It seems like every time I watch any of these movies, there's something more I get out of it. And like I said, I'm fairly confident that I'll get more and more out of this the more I watch it. That said, it's not nearly as hypnotic as the other three. I'll give you that. It's definitely it feels more straightforward, which when it turns to the fever dream isn't really obvious. It may not be. It could be literal. It could go either way. And it's kind of, to me, that's where he's making you make the decision. And quite frankly, if it is literal, I kind of get what you're saying. But I never really took it as literal or I really thought about it as literal till you guys started talking about it that way. So
I don't know if I'm excited to watch it again. I probably will eventually, just to see if my feelings on it change, but it won't be, next week or anything. It'll be a few years before I revisit it. Just to see if it's changed because of our discussion, or
I'm not eager to go back to it.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
Whereas I want to watch Midsommar again the next day.
Oh, I watched Midsommar 3 times in the theater, and and that was a 3-hour movie, and I do not see movies anymore more than once because of the show, and because we've got new ones every week. But like, I went and saw Megan again in the theater. That was the only one this year that I've seen more than once, because it was fucking awesome. But I was actually thinking of you, Sean, because last week we were like, Eddington. And I was like, a few weeks ago, I was like, Megan. And then I said in our chat, I was like, I know I'm setting myself up. It's going to be like so terrible. And then it wasn't, and we both loved it. And then you were like, you set us up for this. And it was like, I can't wait. This is the movie I want to see the most this week. And then we walked out of the theater, and I just looked, what was that?
Yeah, I think my initial excitement, that it didn't meet my initial excitement, was part of the reason why I almost felt it was a bad movie coming out of it immediately, because was like, what is going on with this? This is a mess. But then it is a movie that invites you to come in and wander around, like all of his movies are. You come in, wander around, let your mind go where you want it to go. And I didn't write my review on Friday because I couldn't figure, like, I needed to figure out what it was that I was missing. And I think I found it. And that's what took me to finally get it done. I wrote, I'm not kidding you, 14,000 words before I wrote the review that published today.
Just go to ChatGPT and say, write my review.
Never.
Kind of what I think. Totally kidding. You can definitely tell when people do that.
Definitely. I don't know. I think there's a chance this could unlock eventually, but I'm not. It's a 3 out of 5, whereas everything else is a 5 out of 5.
But I'm not. I think that's totally fair. I don't think it's due to any flaws. I think it's due to not liking what it is. I really think everything was intentional. I think, like you said, he creates a world for you to wander around in, and we've been doing that for the better part of an hour.
Yeah.
For just this alone. That alone means he accomplished something. So I don't know. I just think he's like, here's my art. You guys do what you want with it. But I don't really. I don't think it's due to flaws. I think it's due to this could have been something else, or this would have been cool, but it's a different.
If he weren't as talented as he is, that kind of approach is just cowardice. You're not having a perspective. But he's so talented that I think he makes that work. He invites you into it in a way that is much more impressive than, say, I don't know, like anybody else, any other director I've ever seen do that open-ended, you decide what it means thing. It often comes off as just being cowardly, like I don't want to offend anybody.
Well, I don't think he's saying decide what it means. I think he's showing how the human brain works, to be honest with you, because he does. It's not about not picking sides. It's just watching. I mean, it's multiple characters, but watching the human brain adjust through and how it's affected by its experiences.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's what he's trying to do.
I was really looking forward to this, and I was disappointed initially because I built it up in my head. So
it definitely didn't have the what the fuck did I just watch in the fun way. It was more of a, I didn't really feel what the fuck did I just watch. You guys might have felt that in a negative way. But I was more of a, I don't know. It was just, I also had my wife. It's never as fun to watch movies with my wife as it is with you guys or Josh. Anyway, I
would love to hear Josh's review of this movie. I would love to hear what he thinks of this. I think he's such a unique perspective. That would be fascinating.
He did eventually apologize for his opinion on Hereditary. Is that episode 600 maybe? Or did he just do it to us privately? I don't know.
I think that might have just been privately.
Yeah, I've never heard him do that, so I don't know.
Oh, he backtracked his Hereditary opinion after a rewatch. That made me really happy. Because for whatever reason, that made me upset. Like, what are you seeing? I don't understand how you're seeing something else. And eventually, I'm glad he made up for it.
Yeah, had somebody just reductively call Midsommar stupid. And I was like ready to fight. What the fuck is wrong with you? It was like, I just thought it was stupid. There weren't, it was just this stupid girl's perspective. I'm like, oh, bitch, we're going to fight now.
I just want it to be, I know what you did last summer.
Oh, God.
But I mean, I was thinking on the way over here, just like before Jeff joined the show, I was kind of the horror guy, and I'm not really the horror. It's like, to me, where I'm into horror and where Jeff's is like, he's way into it. Like, and I'm more into like certain horror movies, but it's in a way less catalog. So I don't know.
I ruined your brain for 8 years. So.
But I also was never into. I never really got into. Like, I liked the Scream, but the sequels didn't do anything for me. After I didn't care about I know last summer. I didn't care about all the movies that were based off of that they tried to do cash grabs off of. But there is a mass audience that likes those things. I don't even think you're necessarily into either. That goes and when they see the art house horror movies, get annoyed. Like, they don't want to see Hereditary. They don't want to see Midsommar. They want to see the spoon-fed, and they want to, and they also want to see for different reasons than, let's say, you would.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's kind of my.
Since we're getting there, I'm just going to say I was not looking forward to. I know we did last summer. I thought the trailer was shit. It looked like they were going to just murder the cast of Love Island with a fisherman's hook. Um, I went in with literally the lowest expectations of any movie I've had all year, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really, really was. And maybe that was the low expectations, but I had fun. I laughed. I actually enjoyed the experience more. I saw it the day after Eddington. I enjoyed the experience of it because it wasn't a crowded theater. The movie did not do that well. But people were reacting to it the way you do a fun horror movie. I thought it took itself just seriously enough as a sequel. I was really I was expecting Scream 5, and I was like, oh Jesus, because I did not, Scream 5 is my least favorite in the series. I liked Scream 6 way more, even if it doesn't have Nev Campbell, but I like, what are they possibly going to do? How are they going to bring this killer back? What's the catalyst for this? Is it just going to be a complete retread? And at first I was like, oh, it's 100% just a retread. And then they brought the legacy characters back in what I thought for one of these movies. And I am basing my review and my feelings on it as this type of movie, not as, like Hereditary or anything like that.
Absolutely.
A legacy sequel. Looking back, the Halloween reboot, I'm so disappointed in it from the very first movie to the end. I have rewritten this trilogy in my head, and I've talked it over with friends, and it would have been we've talked about it on the show. There's a way to do that trilogy with like, you could just edit that into a really interesting trilogy. Scream, it was just like, here we go, let's do this again in part 5, but we're just going to introduce some new kids and with complete plot armor and main character syndrome. And I think for me, it was refreshing that Sydney didn't come back for 6, because it's not her story. It's finally somebody else's story, and I know they're bringing her back for 7 because Melissa Barrera, and I'm just like, okay, let's do it, whatever. This one, I was like, I watched the other one, the first one, on the 4th of July weekend, because it's a 4th of July movie. It's fun. I don't pay much attention to it. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. So I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch the original 4th of July weekend. And this one, I was like, well, it doesn't have Sarah Michelle Gellar. It doesn't have Ryan Phillippe. It doesn't have, how are they going to bring the killer back from part 2? I was like, okay, they did everything. This was like, as a legacy sequel, it was like far above Scream 5. It was, to me, it was far above the Halloween movies. Most of the Halloween trilogy, this was like, this is how you do a legacy sequel. You bring the characters back. You have them actually, like, there's stakes in this one where there have never been stakes in any of the retreads. So Sean hated it.
It was fine.
I know. Okay.
I truly couldn't care less about this movie.
Yeah.
It does what it does. It does what I Know What You Did Last Summer did. It's this, the same premise. Kids in a car. They get out. They cause an accident. The guy dies. Somebody related to them takes on the Dalton's fisherman guy and Gorman's fisherman guy, whatever it is. And that's what he goes around with his hook and he kills people. And I was out of the movie after they killed the podcaster. I was like, I loved that girl. She stole the goddamn movie for about 10 minutes. And I'm like, I want more. And then they killed her. And I'm like, I'm going to sit here and eat my popcorn.
Now, I'm going to completely spoil the movie. Yeah. Because you have to, for me to tell you what I loved about it. So you're never going to watch this movie. You might, you might actually watch it.
I won't.
Because of what I'm going to say. But so they bring back Julie James and Ray, and there's a scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar comes back, and I was like, they kept saying in the press, she's not, we tried to get her back. We tried to figure out a way to get her back, and we just couldn't do it. And I was like, there's a scene that she's in, and it is a dream sequence, but she looks better than she did 30 years ago. So they didn't have to even de-age her.
Nice.
She looked good, and it was like, it fit with her relating to the Croaker Queen, the newest Croaker Queen. Some of the lines that they brought back, some of the lines from the original, like, what are you waiting for? And I was like, she says it twice. And the first time she says it, I was like, oh God. And then she says it again, and then you realize why she's saying it. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. This is great. That's great. And the killer reveal, there's two killers, but I think most of them were done by one. The first killer reveal was like, it was just, you knew who it was. There was no way it was not this person. And then they reveal that the actual killer is Ray from the first two movies.
Freddie Prinze
Jr. And it all, like, he's talking about, how Jamie Lee Curtis on the lead up to Halloween was talking about trauma. It's her trauma. That's the real boogeyman. He makes a speech in the middle of the movie that talks about, he goes, you never get over something like this. It changes who you are fundamentally. And then it turns out he's the killer. And you get the sense that something really bad went wrong, because he and Julie were married. And at first I thought that the Stevie character was his daughter and not Julie James's daughter, but he shows up at her door, at Jennifer Love Hewitt's door. She's like, oh, he goes, things are bad. She goes, and I thought they couldn't get worse, but here we are. And you get the sense that they really had, a bad breakup, and it was all due to like all the stuff that had happened before. So everybody on the internet who is spoiling it for everybody else is bitching about the fact that they took this character who's the good guy and turned him into the bad guy. And I'm like, he says it right there in the movie.
No context.
Yeah. He says it right there in the movie. It's not like it's out of left field or anything. He's, damaged and broken, and his best friend gets killed the same way that he killed somebody 30 years ago, and it just breaks him. And he goes, he's going to take care of these people. I really liked the new cast once I actually saw them, with the exception of the dark-haired boyfriend. He was completely forgettable. He's put up there as a red herring at the beginning, and then, he gets killed, and it doesn't matter. It like makes no difference whatsoever. The football boyfriend, the rich one, I thought he had a lot of presence that I didn't really expect him to. He was the Ryan Phillippe stand-in at this point. He was Ryan Phillippe. But I thought the two female leads, whose names I don't remember.
Yeah, his name.
I thought they were good. They were, they had chemistry as best friends, and they kind of played off each other. They played off of everybody else pretty well. I was very surprised, because the one looks like Amanda Seyfried, and I thought she acquitted herself pretty well.
Except for the fact that she did not survive that ending. I'm sorry, there's no possible. She gets gutted with the hook like this, kicked off a boat in the middle of a fucking ocean, and shows up on a beach and goes to the hospital. Is okay. Fuck that. No.
Was she upside down when she got gutted?
I don't know.
Well, and Terrifier.
No, it was basically the same, like that guy in the Scream movie that got stabbed 72 times and goes, "I'm okay, guys. It's all right." He just like looks like a cartoon character with blood coming out of every hole.
Well, it's because he's Cuba Jr.'s son. That's why. Core four. I let myself go with it, and I had fun. I walked out of there with a smile on my face, because there was one line where Ray says, no, she goes, you know what? Let's just fuck off. We'll get in Travis's boat and fuck off to the Bahamas. He goes, you do not want to do that. Trust me. Because that's where part 2 was set, and I'm like, he's making a part 2 reference. And then at the end, the post-credit scene, who shows up but Brandy as her character from part 2, reading about what's happening, and she's like, what the fuck is that? Oh my, and her boyfriend goes away, and then she starts hearing noises and shit, and you think, oh, she's gonna get it. No, Jennifer Love Hewitt shows up and she's got a picture of them in the Bahamas with an X over Brandy, and she's like, "It's happening again." And so Brandy's like, "Who are we gonna fuck up this time?" And I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe that they did that. I just could not believe that they brought Brandy back from a far inferior sequel." But they were like, "You know what? It doesn't matter. Let's just throw everything at the
Well,
wall."
and you're watching it the way you're supposed to. It's so easy to. Most likely, if I had gone, I would have been just kind of like rolling my eyes because I'm an asshole. Like that. But
Oh,
that's
I rolled my eyes plenty of times.
But
Yeah.
there's a way to. I'm not saying I'm better for rolling. I'm way like less of a human being for rolling my eyes. Like that. It's definitely like just. I don't know. I have a hard time finding joy in things when I should, but I find joy in Eddington. That's weird. But that's the way. That's the way to watch that movie.
I was like, I kind of wanted to like turn around and watch it again to see if I could pick up on anything. I don't think that I'm going to pick up on anything because I think they knew, enough to say, okay, Ray's the killer, but we're going to hide it. You're not going to really be able to tell. And there are a few red herring characters. Like there's a pastor who you are convinced. There's the Stevie's girlfriend who you're convinced is one of the killers. She just disappears. That I was like, well, where'd she go? But I had fun. I just was like, I kind of let myself just let it wash over me. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to see it again. I kind of, I'm hoping to, no, I'm not probably going to go to the theater to see it again, but Jennifer Love Hewitt, she was kind of the heart of the movie after a while.
I'm glad to see her back talking. Like,
yes,
she's been gone for so long.
And she was one of the ones who came up with the characterization. And she said, look, this girl's been through multiple murders. She's not going to be, a healed person. I don't want her to be a healed person. I want her, she got together with Ray, but I want them to have broken up years ago and like not have anything to do with each other. She moved away from town. She has to come back. It's all this also that actually makes sense for a character and was actually put on screen as opposed to Sydney from part 5 of Scream. Oh, she's off, she's off living her life, whatever. No, there's no scene where you meet her family. And I think that with Scream 7 coming up and being about one of her daughters, you're supposed to have had that scene. Whereas with Jennifer Love Hewitt, she kind of goes into why she, what the trauma was, and they explain enough about the legacy characters like Helen Shivers that it makes sense when she shows up.
I'm sorry. I just have, with the Scream thing, I got a big problem. Like, by this point, if Sydney gets attacked by another killer, it's like, why doesn't she just kill herself? Yeah. Like, at this point, she has been through so much, like, it's basically a cartoon now.
Oh, part 2. 3 for sure.
Part 3 was where it really jumped the shark.
Right.
Part 4, they tried to get it a little more grounded, and, she's healed and she's like a better person and blah, blah, blah. 5 was, I watched that again the other night because I want to watch 6. So I'm like, let me watch 5 again. The whole Billy Loomis thing. That's how I thought they were I thought they would actually bring Sarah Michelle Gellar back as kind of the ghost in Julie's head that talks to her and says, remember this happened? When they're up and it turns out it's in the Shivers department store and you see all the mannequins, I'm like, if he jumps out from the fucking underneath a piece of plastic, I'm going to be pissed. And he didn't. But I was like, this is how you do legacy characters. You don't signify them. You don't gale them, And
in terms of this movie, like, I don't hate it. I don't think it's bad. I think it's incredibly, I felt like I could feel the hand of the screenwriter going, okay, now look this way. Okay, now look this way. Okay, now look this way.
Yeah.
And it felt like just there was so much like, it's so pushy. And it's like it didn't trust the audience to be involved in it enough that they had to kind of nudge it repeatedly. So but that's just, and it's competent. It's fine. I've already forgotten it for the most part, except for Podcast Girl, who I want to see more. Who was she? She was awesome. She stood out from everybody to me. I wanted more of her.
Yeah, I was hoping she was going to get away. I really was, because I assumed that everybody else who lived was going to die. So, yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I will watch it when it comes out on streaming for sure. If we didn't have anything coming up this weekend, I might actually go see it just, on my own time, but
See, we'll take the week off.
not this week. Not with
What
my
is this week?
favorite comic book characters of all
Oh,
time.
Fantastic Four is this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing is my favorite comic book character. I just think he's hot. I'm just kidding.
Bobby, they haven't done it good yet.
I actually liked the 2005 movies.
Hmm.
The 2005 and 2000. I don't hate them. I don't love them. I don't think they're like the
That's
perfect
the Jessica
representation.
Alba one.
Yeah. Jessica Alba with her blue eyes and blonde hair. Yeah. But
That terrible, terrible wig for the reshoots. My God.
but I thought that Michael
What is it with
Chiklis.
these guys in wigs in the Fantastic Four movies? They cannot do them.
Michael
Kate Mara.
Chiklis is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, like that one was.
That was terrible.
That was one of the most egregious movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
One of borderline one of the worst. Definitely one of the worst comic movies ever.
Yeah. I would rather watch the theatrical cut of Daredevil than that movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies I'd rather watch than that one. They were so boring. It's just a really bad movie. And it should have been awesome based on everybody that was involved with it.
Yeah. Well, and that to me was where they were shoehorning it. That I don't necessarily feel like they're shoehorning characters in. Like a female Silver Surfer, that's been done in the comics. I felt like they were trying to shoehorn in like a more diverse cast in the last one when it's really not. They're not a diverse group.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, your argument makes sense here.
Right. I don't want to notice it.
Yeah.
If I feel like, again, if I feel like the studio is going, all right, we're going to be this super woke, whatever, and that's
Putting out press releases about the two guys who are going to kiss in the upcoming episode.
Right. And I don't I like when I don't notice it is the best.
Yeah.
Like in that Avengers movie, and all of a sudden all the female characters popped into the same scene out of nowhere for the big. Like, this character was way over there. Really, what happened? But no, I've heard. I mean, I don't know. It seems like,
And they still didn't pass the Bechdel test in that scene.
Because they were all still talking about a man. Dennis. I know it's kind of hip online to say this now, but honestly, I watched it recently, and Roger Corman's Fantastic Four is still the best Fantastic Four movie. It really is. As bad as it is, as cheesy as it is, he understands how fun this is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And those characters, other than Jay Underwood, who's an awful actor, everybody understands just how much they're supposed to be having fun doing this. And that rubber suit thing is actually really good considering the budget.
Yes,
it's
looks
really
the most
good.
like thing in any of the Fantastic Four movies, with the exception of Tobias Fumke and me. Until this current one, I think this Ben Grimm looks a lot like he's supposed to. That was the only real nitpick I had with Michael Chiklis. Is he didn't look like, he just was orange and like round, but I thought he was a really good Ben Grimm. But
I mean, I hope it's good. I don't want to. They've tried so many times. Hopefully, they can get it right this time.
Well, I think now that they're in the Marvel universe,
Is this part of the gun?
yeah, this is the.
I haven't seen Superman, but from what I've heard,
No, this is not DC. This is
you
Marvel.
said Marvel. I don't know the difference.
Yeah. Superman is Marvel. Superman is DC. This is Marvel.
All right.
This is Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this takes place because they've done the MCU like multiverse. This takes place in another universe, and then they'll come into this universe, into the M616 universe. So I'm I'm intrigued by the fact that that it's a 60s set like the original comics were. I'm interested to see that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to have to be their Iron Man for their new thing. Like Iron Man was to create the first good era of MCU. That's what they're going to have to do with this. I think Thunderbolts is a great movie, but it didn't work. In terms of the universe thing, it didn't work.
Right.
Yeah. Did you see that, Bob?
I kind of want to, again, I understand it's DC, but it was the new Superman wasn't it just fun? Wasn't that kind of the...
Yeah,
it was certainly more fun than what Man of Steel did.
Yeah.
That's not...
Well, it was definitely a James Gunn movie in that it didn't take itself super seriously. There wasn't a big... It wasn't like Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman where there was...
That was in realism.
Yeah, it was so, it had to be so real, and you had to have
no fun.
Like 6 villains in each movie, and they had to like, one had to do this part and this part, and then they all team up at the end against Wonder Woman or whatever. This was one villain who had
They didn't cram it full of characters, but they made it work, didn't they?
Oh yeah. I thought it was great. I am disappointed in David Corn Sweat now because I thought, maybe there was a chance, but he's married. But whatever. No, I really thought he did well, and I thought Rachel Brosnahan was the best Lois Lane since Margot Kidder.
When I heard the guy you hate was a good Lex Luthor too, wasn't
I don't hate him.
I think who was the one you hated from?
Will Poulter.
Okay,
from Midsommar.
I'm talking about from Nosferatu. There's a character in there. The actor that plays.
Oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Okay, not in there. Okay.
Yeah, he can't act.
My guys.
Nicholas Hoult was the one that plays Lex Luthor.
Yes, I was thinking Nicholas.
They all run together. Yes. Don't worry, it's not just you. They all they're all the same, like 30-year-old British actor playing American. So,
but I heard he was really good in it. But I don't know.
I still don't hate Jesse Eisenberg's take on the character.
No,
it's a totally different. From what I mean, I like the realism, the dark, and the lack of fun in these movies that everybody hates. But I totally get why they need to do a 180 on that.
I don't hate it. I just it got to be a slog by the time you got to Justice League, and it's like Star Wars fans. I hate the Zack Snyder fans because they're just so extra.
Well, I'm definitely not a Zack Snyder fan. I just, if I'm going to get into a comic book movie, it's going to be from a more realistic perspective. But now that's been done to death, and it definitely needs a reset.
The Snyder Bros are like the COVID deniers of fandom. I was reading a guy today. A friend of mine said that he had to kick a guy out of his group because the guy was mad and getting mad in a forum about his review of Superman. And the guy made a joke about Snyder, and the guy got all pissed off that he made a joke about Snyder. And it's like, these people have known each other for 20 years. You're going to end a friendship.
Don't you hate when you have an opinion on something and then a whole group of people ruin it? Just to not like a movie, and then, like, for instance, I'm not a big fan of Captain Marvel. But then to find out there's this whole group of people that hate it because she's a woman, and that
makes you like it almost. Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to be. I don't dislike it for that. I just didn't like the movie. Love Brie Larson.
Well, I mean, it's that incel kind of mindset, right. And that's kind of why I hate Star Wars fans for the most part.
I'm the same way. Like, I hate Pearl Jam fans, and I hate Tool fans.
Well, like. There's a show called The Acolyte that came out a few months ago. I was so looking forward to it because it had nothing to do with the Skywalkers. It was something fresh. It had a couple legacy characters in it, but they were used. One was just the back of their head, and they were used as a last sting. And I thought it was a fresh take. It was kind of like a Rashomon, where you saw a different kind of perspective of things. And I really enjoyed it. And people got pissed because it was directed by a woman who said she wanted to shake up the Star Wars universe. She didn't like, certain things about Star Wars, but she loved Star Wars. she wants to make a Knights of the Old Republic series, and like that's what everybody wants, but because she's a woman, they don't want her to make it. She's a lesbian, and there were lesbian space witches. It was a coven. Now they have had space witches that are like almost a completely female group, but nobody ever bitched about it because it was George Lucas and Dave Filoni. Leslie Headland comes in, who's a lesbian, and her wife is in the show too, and suddenly lesbian space witches, I don't want it.
Right.
They never anywhere said they called two characters mother who were very close. It doesn't mean that they were married. It just meant that maybe everybody is called mother. Like Master Jedi or Padawan, could be a title. Don't know. They didn't care. It was, lesbian space witches. That's all I ever heard. And I'm like, you are never going to get anything but Skywalkers from here on out.
Oh, right. Well, that was was it Last Jedi, little Rian Johnson one?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I play up my Star Wars hate for the show. I always, but I have no nostalgia for it. I didn't watch it when I was a kid. So, and my nostalgia was Rocky. There's only so much you can do in the Rocky universe. What's his name? Ryan Coogler found a way to expand it and did a really good job. But for the most part, there's really nothing. They just, those are what they are. You're done. So as we're trying to go into the show, we're watching more and more of these, and you guys are forcing it down my throat. To actually like that movie, and then to find out that everybody hated it was really I think one of my friends called it it's a Star Wars movie for non-Star Wars fans. I'm like, whatever. I thought it was awesome.
It was adult, and it had themes in it that basically anybody can do this if you try hard enough. You have some talent. It's like art. Okay. I had this long discussion at a show I did a few weeks ago with, this guy was just like, you must have, I said, well, I worked really hard to get to this point where I'm at as far as an artist. And my old art teacher from high school was there. He's like, he's been working since I've known him, and that's been 40 years. And, he's this, yes, there's talent, but it's hard work. And if you train hard enough and you do this and you really want it enough, and that's what Rian Johnson was saying. This little kid at the end with the broom, he had the Force, he just didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And I think if he had directed the next one, it would have been about rebuilding the Jedi Order with, Rey and Luke and, Luke's ghost or whatever taking over and building up the Force in people like Finn. And that was just dropped, from...
and I know people hate it when I bring this up, but there's an ugliness to the way that turned, and the specific way of taking out the idea that anybody can be a Jedi and you have to be born a Jedi is intensely political, because it's like, well, only the certain people can be king of England, or only certain people can rise up in politics because their father was president. It's like, let's just. And it's almost like
people want dynasties.
Yeah, dynasties. Like they're just breeding that into you. Like
I call it fan service.
Well, I mean,
insidiousness to it, though. That just feels off to me.
Darth Sidious.
I'm very happy that I liked The Last Jedi, because the people that hated that movie, some of the things they said were so disgusting. And some of the characters that I'm just going away because I hated them so much for horrible reasons.
So Rose...
Rose.
She was the Jar Jar of this trilogy, because everybody hated Jar Jar in the first one, so he was barely in the second one or the third one. He did one scene in each of those movies, and same thing with her. It's just it's that kind of shit that pisses me off about fandoms and horror fans. Like, I know what you did last summer. I wanted to share with people that I surprisingly like this movie, because I really wanted to hate this movie. And one of the first comments was a spoiler.
Really?
Oh, and these guys are exactly who you think they are. They are, they're the incel groups that are pissed because, it was written by a woman, it was directed by a woman, all this stuff, and so let's spoil it for everybody else. I'm just like, man, fuck yourselves. It earns that twist at the end,
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't understand where you get the time for this kind of thing. Like the Snyder people, especially, like let's try and ruin the opening week of Superman by downvoting it on Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes had to invent a whole way. They had to make it so complicated for you to post a review to prove that you're a real person, because all these guys wanted to build these bots that were going to downvote Superman to try and ruin the opening weekend. Where do you have that time and space in your brain to do that? I have so much to do every day. I could not possibly find the time to be that upset about something that I want to invent ways to ruin it on a massive scale.
Well, never knowing the touch of a woman or a man saves a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say there's only one thing I really absolutely hate, and that's the Dave Matthews Band. Like, I hate it so much, but like, I don't listen to it. I don't care. I'm never going to go see him live. I'm not going to buy his records. I've heard enough that I don't like it. I'm not going to go out there and try to ruin anything. I mean, I might make fun of my friends who like him, or we might have a goofing around, kind of like what I do with Star Wars, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe somebody would hate something so much. Like, they care. Well, she's not to want to dislike something before it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That is so weird to me. Like, even like I struggle with Paul Thomas Anderson. Like half the time I like it, half the time I don't. But I always want to go to the next one to find out if I can like it. Like, I just don't get how you just pick a guy and say, I hate this. I'm never
already doing it with Fantastic Four. There was one guy on one of their posts that was like, he's like, I saw it. It was the worst movie ever. And Marvel responded, you didn't see it. Nobody has seen it yet.
Right.
Nobody has seen it yet.
I mean, I go into movies with attitudes. I went into Megan with an attitude. I was like, I didn't think I was going to, which actually helped.
Well, that's the thing, though, but you allow for it to help. There is that.
They're not even going into the movie, though.
Right.
Yeah.
They're downvoting Superman, and they're never going to watch it. They'll hate watch it when it's on streaming, but they're not going to pay to see it in the theater. They're just going to downvote it beforehand so that they have something to bitch about and have a personality.
Right. To me, it's like, the Metallica fans that hated everything they do, but now they go to the show 20 years later and they're, just pumping every song. It's so, I don't know. I hate, I don't get why you got to take the joy out of things.
Just don't be part of it. If you don't want to, just don't be part of it.
What I was trying to get to back when I was trying to talk about the difference with me and Jeb as horror fans, is like, I was like Friday the 13th, but not the sequels I didn't care about. It was kind of more when he started making us picking all these classics for movies I would have never thought to watch as a classic. Tourist Trap specifically.
I wore this shirt specifically because of
to fully to kind of realize why he likes you and then find like him for the same reasons and totally get it. All it does is expand the way you watch movies and not why cut off the way you watch.
Well, Sleepaway Camp, when I suggested the sequels, I was like, I don't know if you guys are gonna love them or hate them, and they're just fun. And Pamela Springsteen is the ultimate Angela, because she's like breaking off pieces of the scenery and just eating it into the camera. Not in the background, but she's just like...
I've been binging Red Letter Media on YouTube. I love those guys. And the best thing about those guys is like they're specifically trying to pick bad movies to watch, and then they'll find one and it's bad, but at the same time, it's bad in a way that's so much fun that you have to go, this is one of the best things I've ever seen. They just did this movie recently called Devil's Story, and it's one of the most insane movies you've ever seen in your life, and watching them watch it is just incredibly entertaining because it's just so unpredictable. And yeah, the kid was like, this is an all-time classic.
But there is an art to a bad movie. Like, to where it's almost not bad.
Right.
Troll
2. I feel that way about Troll 2.
Right. And The Room, I think, specifically, is a movie that is so... Like, there's so much passion, for lack of a better word, into it, but it makes it so fun to watch. And, to me, bad is when you can see a corporate boardroom putting a movie together.
Fuck yes. Absolutely.
And even though, like... You kind of halfway hinted at that with I Know You Did Last Summer, but I still think to your point with that is, yes, it's a money grab, but we care about this money grab. So we're going to, Jennifer Love Hewitt is going to play more, we're going to take it as seriously as we can.
I feel that movie was helped because it was centered around female filmmakers, and everybody in the all the credits at the beginning, like the first part in the credits, are all women. And I feel like it's fundamentally a woman's story, because the woman is the final girls. They're the ones who are the victims, quote unquote, but they're not. And I feel like, except for the remake of Black Christmas from 2019, they really show that the real villains are people who are hurt. Whereas in that, that one was just like, oh, I want to do a feminist story. And it was like, this is another one of those movies where it's like, oh, this is not it. This is like a parody. This is like something that Ben Shapiro would make to make fun of feminists.
Right.
And I fundamentally reject those kind of things. And this one felt like it was really taking the women seriously as characters, as opposed to just the damsels in distress.
Well, it's like when you announce going in, we're going to make a feminist movie, or we're going to make a gay movie that has this perspective, as opposed to a movie like, I'm not the biggest fan, but I Know What You Did Last Summer doesn't go in with it being a feminist movie. Yeah. It's basically like saying we're already feminist just in being here.
Yeah.
And now we can do what we're here to do.
And again, I knew nothing about this movie going into it, except for I didn't want to see it. Because, I've said numerous times, even tonight, it looked like they were just going to kill off the cast of Love Island because everybody was so beautiful. But they actually most of them could act, and most of them did an okay job. And I saw at the end, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense that women made this movie after watching it, and paying homage to Sarah Jessica Parker. I accidentally watched him just like that.
Accidentally watched.
But Sarah Michelle Gellar, paying homage to her throughout the movie, thinking that, okay, you're just going to see her on a t-shirt. You're just going to see her in a picture. And then she shows up and you're like, oh, this is somebody who really loves this kind of movie. So yeah, I want more movies like that where people actually give a shit. Like Megan 2.0. They actually really, you can tell they really loved that movie. Even if it didn't do well, they probably won't do another one.
Probably. Although I'm very sad about that.
Yeah,
I saw the name of the show was
Save Megan 2.0.
I think defending was under, but it was safe.
It was safe.
Yeah.
Because I was confused.
I'm like, is this what did they call it? So I had to kind of dig into a little bit.
You actually had to listen to the show. I'm sorry.
I had to read the notes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
because I did enjoy it. I enjoy it more thinking about it since then. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
That's the thing about it.
And now I'm mad. Fun. I'm super mad because now I keep thinking another Megan sequel where they get the podcast girl from this movie in there would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep calling her podcast girl. I apologize. I don't have my notes in front of me to tell me what her name is. I genuinely enjoyed her. It's not ironic at all.
You've also always related to whenever a critic dies in a movie. So you are a podcaster, so I totally understand that.
And she's also a wonderful character. Her introduction is great.
Oh, yeah.
That she sticks around is great.
Okay. You go, okay. Yeah.
She has one big piece of the plot that I really loved where she pulls the mask off the killer and goes, "It's you." And it's like, wait a minute, what? Yeah. You only know one other person in the movie.
Yeah, that was my first hint that it was like, are they bringing back Johnny Galecki?
No, she was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the notes so you can see just exactly who she is, because I do want to say more nice things about her.
It is ironic to me that I enjoyed this movie better than an Ari Aster movie when I didn't even want to see this movie. So
I will not go that far, but yeah, I didn't hate I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Well, I enjoyed my experience much more because you saw my face when I came out of that movie theater.
I was feeling kind of the same thing.
Yeah. He was like, "What was that?" I go, "That was a mess."
How much fun was it to talk about?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I love when, like it or hate it, when we can have a long conversation about a movie. Was always a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think, you're saying that he's turning into a monster throughout the movie. That puts it into the Ari Aster horror movie trope for me.
Totally.
Well, no, I see it that way now, though, and it makes sense because all these people are real monsters, and they turn into monsters. At least by the end of the movie, everybody is a monster or dead.
He's an empty vessel who's getting filled up in the wrong way
with a bush.
Yeah, that was
with an unkempt close-up bush.
Did he do Full Frontal before Beau was Afraid?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing his dick in a movie. I mean, and I remember dicks in movies.
Oh, me too.
It's a running trope on this show.
What's your favorite dick in a movie, Bob?
For nostalgia purposes, probably Kevin Bacon.
Wild Things.
Wild Things.
Yeah.
Since they've been doing the 93, 94, 95 podcast, Bruce Willis's penis has kind of risen.
Yeah. That was a big deal at the time. Wish it was more Affleck in Gone Girl.
Yeah.
That's like the tip, wasn't it?
I think so.
Just like a fleeting glance from the side.
All the right moves if you paused it right. That was pretty cool.
Ken Jeong in The Hangover is a good... I laughed very, very hard at that show.
Funny. And that's the brave thing to do.
Yeah. Especially when you're not very attractive. Like Ken Jeong is not very attractive. Sorry, Ken. I just was... He doesn't need to show his dick.
I know.
Which is what gets me about it. 'Cause I'm like, oh, this is like disaster nudity. You're just running out of this house with just a shirt, no pants. Or, that kind of... It just is matter of fact. So, I don't know. But I guess... Next time, it's just going to be close up of his dick, and
that's the entire movie. He's a dick puppeteer. In the next one, he's a
Ari Aster's puppetry of the penis.
I mean,
I would watch that movie first day.
But Beau was Afraid really does do a lot with Dixon.
I don't know. I will go opening weekend to see the next Ari Aster movie, but if it makes me feel like I did this time, then I'm like, I might wait till like Monday or Tuesday, discount Tuesday.
Yeah, it was like, I guess I haven't really, other than Beau was Afraid, because I didn't get to Midsommar as fast as you did, because we had like mere experiences a day apart. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the score to Midsommar was probably his like the best use of score in his movies, whereas this one, he was using a lot of like horror movie score.
Almost back to Hereditary.
Yeah, and it was like a lot of stings where they didn't really belong, and that kind of, I was like,
which is frustrating because it's his score.
Yeah,
or he did, whoever did it for him. But every movie has taken that score and just bastardized it.
Yeah, I think it felt like he just used it at different times that he didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. Well, unless you have more to say about the 97, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't really have anything to say about it.
No, we don't need it.
Yeah.
We've all seen it. And we basically talked about it by talking about the new one.
Exactly.
So.
All right. Fantastic 4 week starts now.
All right. It's clobbering time.